This diva started out young, performing for friends and family in her native Houston, and has gone on to serenade presidents. She is a singing and dancing force to be reckoned with and has expanded out of the music biz into movies, gathering acclaim and awards for whatever she touches.
She's like so talented and she wears that talent on her sleeve.
She's a supremely talented singer.
She has been listed as #1 on the Forbes 100 Most Influential Women, rated the world's most beautiful woman by People magazine, and has sold 75 million recordings and counting worldwide.
Just like a basketball player, she puts in the work.
She is a woman of faith in a cutthroat world of entertainment who has carved out her place in the record books while remaining true to her core values.
She's a mom, she's a wife, she's beautiful, she's a fashion designer, she kind of has it all.
She has tamed one of hip-hop's biggest talents, and together they seem set to build a dynasty that encompasses hot tracks, clothing lines, and restaurants. Their baby, Blue Ivy, has already joined her parents as a performer, and under her mother's guidance is sure to have an amazing future.
Focus should be the word that I should use. She was always a focused kid.
To her fans, she is the queen bee, and she commands not only loyalty, but gives the same in return.
She's gonna do what it takes. It's a mega star.
She just can do absolutely everything.
She is the hardest working woman in showbiz, and her drive and ambition know no bounds. Yet she delivers her talent to us not as some tantruming cliche diva, but as giving, classy, and supremely regal. Always beautiful at visage and voice. She is Beyoncé, and this is her story. Who is this woman of mammoth talent, big smile, and crisp dance moves?
When they find that out, it's like, oh man, you know Beyonce, man. Oh my God, how was it? How was she? Can you get some tickets? You know, it's always something.
You know, I think what is so universal about Beyonce's appeal is that she is so dedicated to entertaining, primarily.
Everybody loves Beyonce. She is such a cultural icon because she's everything.
I think that Beyonce is so popular because she puts every fiber of her existence into her career and performance.
Beyonce is a great singer and a great person, but it just didn't start happening yesterday. We mean the whole makeup of her, who she is and how she got to where she is.
On September 4th, 1981, Beyoncé Giselle Knowles was born in Houston, Texas to Matthew and Tina Knowles. Her unique first name was derived from her mother's maiden name, Beyoncé. And to go with this great name, it was clear from the very beginning that there was something special about the baby Beyoncé.
Beyonce was born, she was just like any other, baby. Everybody was excited. She was just a normal child. She was just a bundle of joy.
The thing that sticks in my mind with Beyonce was Matt and Tina had a New Year's Eve party at their house the year Beyonce was born. We stood outside and she was just fascinated. She would hold her hand out. It was raining, so the raindrops could drop on her hand.
Tina Knowles was a hairdresser and clothes designer, while Matthew was a successful medical equipment salesman. For both, family and church was central to their lives.
Her father was always a guy who thought outside of the box, and the mother, Tina, was always a beautiful lady, gracious lady who always had a professionalism about her. Tina did. And then, Tina and them used to have a little singing group when she was a little girl, too, now.
The performing bug ran in the Knowles family, and pretty soon, young Beyoncé was putting on her act for everyone.
Anytime anybody went to their house, she'd have to sing and dance. She put on a show for them.
She had a love for Michael Jackson, and every time she was little, before she started school, they always wanted to sing and dance. But most kids, they always want to sing and dance. But I think when she really started, every time you saw them, and it was a thing in our family is that when you go over to the house, you're gonna have to listen to a song and a dance, and you're gonna have to look at a production.
As a young girl growing up in Houston, I used to call her a miniature adult because she never was like the other children. She was always in her area, in her lane, doing what she did.
Well, Beyonce, started singing in church. She is a kind of a good girl from the South.
She was shy at first. She wasn't the kid that stuck out. She was just being a normal kid. But when she started to sing, that's when they first heard her sing. That's when they knew that she had a gift. She was going to St. Mary's School, and she was dancing and singing and doing her things. And I think, it's that when they finally heard her sing.
My son Rama used to tell me all the time about Beyonce, and when they were doing the dance thing and the little music thing way before Destiny Child, Beyonce was singing and composing songs because at that time, every house they moved in, Rama would build a little stage for Beyonce to sing on.
We built this deck in the backyard, and they eventually started using that, as the stage in the summertime. Matt and Tina had them to where they had, trainers, and they had dancing people because Beyonce was in dance,
Beyonce went on to attend the music magnet school, Parker Elementary, and then later the High School for Performing and Visual Arts, both in Houston. She showed her talent as a soloist, winning competitions in the local area, and then formed the group Girls Time with other local talents. Matthew Knowles quit his job and took over the daily running of the young performers' careers. And further making it a family endeavor, Mother Tina became a full-time stylist and costume designer for the girls, and then had them rehearse in her salon, Headliners.
Matt had put them in a position or found people to put them in front of, find songwriters, find people to do stuff. So Matt was doing his part to help them be successful.
Always go back to the success of anybody, goes back to the family unit. And I think she came from a good family unit.
Well, they family, they went to church. Like, we didn't go to church. Me and my dad went to church. Me and my mother went to church. But they would go to church every Sunday, and they would go to eat. But their thing is they always went to church, and that thing, come have dinner. Family was important. Family was very important.
Matthew and Tina and Beyonce and Salon and Kelly, they would be at Luby's cafeteria. They sit around and discuss things and issues and what you got out of a sermon, and which most families don't do that anymore. Tina used to have a place called Headliners as a hair salon, and Tina was always a support person in the family because she always had a knack for entrepreneurship.
And it started to progress from there because of the work that was being, done behind the scenes. They were writing, they were going to the studio, they were going over to David's place, they were in the studio.
Matthews just saw that as an opportunity to get Beyonce out there, because Uncle Matt was always on a mission, and on a mission to do and accomplish the goals that he accomplished. And I think that him being a salesman, he already had the right skills to apply those skills to another area.
It was like the girls could never have a relaxing time or never have a downtime because he was always, we need to do this, and he was talking to them as though they were 25 or they had been in the business for a while. He started, and we would always tease him. I would call him Joe Jackson, but it kind of just started, and then now we can see the result of it.
With Matthew and Tina Knowles firmly behind the group, Girls Time went on to compete in Star Search.
They lost to an adult male band. They were devastated.
When they lost to Star Search, it was like really hurtful because they thought, and they really won. But you couldn't see, these little teenage girls beating some 35, 40-year-old musicians. You just couldn't. America wasn't ready for that. But that was heartbreaking to them, but it just fueled a fire.
Since that time, then she went on to do what Destiny Child did, and the rest of it is kind of like history.
Like all young acts, the group suffered its fair share of ups and downs. But the biggest change was about to come, and like so much with this family based in faith, it was inspired by a passage from the Bible and the book of Isaiah. In 1997, Destiny's Child were signed to Columbia Records and recorded their first song for the label, Killing Time, which was also featured in the hit movie Men in Black. Their real breakthrough came with the song No, No, No off the self-titled album. This song garnered them 3 Soul Train Lady of Soul Awards.
Beyonce started in a girl group with, great voices and funny coordinated outfits.
And it just kind of evolved into, from Girls' Time, and then it kind of evolved, with the member changes from when they were little. It just kind of grew and started snowballing because work on the back end was being done.
At this time, Destiny's Child was made up of LaToya Luckett, Latavia Robertson, and Beyonce's childhood friend, Kelly Rowland.
I think we all became fans of Beyonce during Destiny's Child. She was just so sweet, this, young girl with an amazing voice. And they had some really great songs. That's when everybody kind of started noticing, hey, who's this girl? She's really talented.
While out front, everything looked great for Destiny's Child, behind the scenes, the situation was turning sour. Robertson and Luckett left the group and filed a breach of contract suit over management issues. There followed a period of depression for Beyonce as the group went through a series of lineup changes that increasingly became public and drew criticism on the shoulders of the fledgling star.
I came in right when we was wrapping up the first album of No No, when No No was a big hit. And the girls were kind of going through some transition. I remember Matthew coming to me saying, I need your help with something. I need you to take over a role as role manager and assist me in doing this for the girls. We got some events that we need to do and I need your help with it. And it was all great. Beyonce was like, cool, hey, we know who you are. We're gonna support you, we're gonna help you out through this role, because we're all kind of new and going through the transition too.
Finally, the tumultuous personal changes settled down, and Destiny's Child was born again with the lineup of Kelly Rowland, Beyonce, and Michelle Williams. Miraculously, a supergroup had been reborn.
And I remember the first date was a Phoenix date, and it was me, the girls, and a security crew.
I first met Beyonce in 1999, right after the breakup of the two girls. That was her first body ride. First laid eyes on her at Hobby Airport. She was real quiet, real shy. So I looked at her, I was saying to myself, wow, we're getting ready to do a concert with this real quiet, shy girl. I'm going to get paid a lot of money for this particular concert. Now, I may not have another gig. So we get to the concert, we set it up, we make sure the room is secure. We get on stage, and all of a sudden I see this person just explode, just come out. I'm like, wow. I'm like, man, this girl's a star.
Nonetheless, the young diva in making pulled it together and kept up with the hectic touring pace.
Went to Phoenix to do it. It was just us, nobody else. And that kind of bonded us at that point in time. B was a natural girl. She was always kind of real laid back, quiet, but driven. I remember just her writing and wanted to do more in the writing and production end of going to the next album, and how she wanted to expand and make the group grow. And I knew then that she was driven.
Then in 1999, the group recorded their second album, The Writings on the Wall, which sold over 8 million units and spawned hit songs Jumpin' Jumpin' and Say My Name, which is one of their most recognized songs of all time, and it won them the music industry's highest honor, a Grammy Award for the best R&B song.
I think it's like Mile High, something like that, and we had to do a performance, and the city was probably at least another 30 minutes away, and we were behind. We was trying to get on stage, and our dancers weren't there. And I remember MTV was filming us, and I had to go in and let the girls know, hey, look, we ain't got no dancers. They gonna be late. They stuck in traffic, and it's an hour race, but we still gotta go and do the show. And I remember the girls looking at me and were like, what? I said, well, we still gotta do the show. So I remember B was like, okay, well, let's do it. She worked out some changes that they were gonna do, and boom, we hit the stage and we hit it hard. I mean, the girl commanded the show. It was a sold-out crowd. I mean, it was just like, wow. I mean, she did a thing. And I was just like, man, this girl is good. We would do 2 shows in one day, from plane to plane interviews, and she was constantly focused on what we had to do, and constantly keeping us going. Because sometimes you think that the girls would probably break at that point with so much activity going on, but she kept it all together. Hey, if B ready to do it, we gonna do it. So she was always a driven person, always a motivator for everybody. Because she was out in front. We knew she knew her role, and she knew what she had to do.
As a newly reformed trio with the lineup of Rollins, Williams, and of course Beyoncé, Destiny's Child now went on to record their biggest success ever with the album Survivor, selling well north of 10 million copies throughout the globe and delivering to the fans the hits like Survivor and Bootylicious.
Well, the most outstanding thing about Bootylicious is that the word Bootylicious became an entry in the Oxford English Dictionary, which is amazing. Like, she made up a word and then it just became a word. That's incredible. But the thing about that song that's interesting is that, you know, through kind of self-objectification, she's also talking about body acceptance, basically, because Beyoncé does have curves. She's not this waif that maybe society would like her to be or would expect her to be or would want from a woman that's on TV. And she kind of embraces those curves. I mean, undoubtedly, she follows a fitness regimen and probably diets to keep those curves perfect, but at the same time, there is sort of an embracing of her body type that she does. And that's another sign of her empowerment, you know?
When we just got through doing Writers on Raw, was getting ready to work on Survivor, and I remember she came on the bus like, man, hey Jonathan, man, I just wrote the Survivor. You know, this gonna be the song. And I remember she was playing on the bus, like, you know, listen to it, I'm listening. Oh yeah, this is hot, baby. Yeah, I wrote it. It's gonna be the bang, it's gonna be the new thing. That's when the girls were coming out. They were ready to be free, loose the shackles, everything. And she would roll out, I was like, man, B, this is hot. It's gonna be real hot, you know. And she kind of came up with the concept for the video at that time, and how she wanted it and stuff. And I was like, man, this girl is good. This girl is cool, man.
Rounding out this period of revival for the group, Beyoncé starred in Carmen, a hip opera, a made-for-TV movie produced by MTV and co-starring Mekhi Phifer. And then in 2001, after releasing their 8 Days of Christmas holiday album, Destiny's Child announced they were taking a break to pursue personal projects.
We can't start becoming a unit, because for the next few years, that's how we roll. It was us.
What are you wearing today? I'm wearing Roberto Cavalli. Does he dress you all the time? He does. Sometimes. I love his clothes, and this is perfect for the night.
It looks great on you.
Thank you.
Fred TV, give a shout out.
Fred TV.
Following her first turn starring in a movie, in 2002, Beyoncé landed the role of Foxy Cleopatra in the highly successful movie Austin Powers in Goldmember. A year later, she starred opposite Cuba Gooding Jr. in The Fighting Temptations. Beyoncé has gone on to a successful career as an actress, building on these early roles and gaining recognition from fans and critics alike.
Believe it or not, my mother loved Sparkle. She loved all of those 70s movies, and that's what I grew up watching. And like Mahogany and so many. And this didn't quite change my life, but I will always love Coming to America. I think it's so hilarious. I love Eddie Murphy. I'm still can't believe I got a chance to work with him.
Despite this uptick working as an actress, the young singer remained true to her first love, music.
I think it is rare for someone certainly so young to do it, you know, to be a successful songwriter and a singer and an artist. She did an incredible job moving out of this kind of young girl group identity into becoming a legitimate solo artist.
She didn't need that much encouragement because she was already focused. She knew what her purpose was.
And then musical influences, I know that she talks a lot about Etta James and Stevie Wonder specifically. She definitely has roots in R&B, so it's like she's done her homework basically. She knows soul and can project it from there and kind of modify it too for contemporary listeners.
But she became a solo star in her own right when she released her own album, and that really was where she just exploded as a superstar.
In 2003, Beyoncé released her first solo album, Dangerously in Love. The album has sold 11 million copies worldwide and introduced the world to her hit song, Crazy in Love. The song featured rapper and hip-hop entrepreneur Jay-Z. Sean Carter, aka Jay-Z, was and is one of the most successful rappers in hip-hop history. The couple met during production of his song, 03 Bonnie and Clyde, and apparently the connection was immediate. To some, the urban savvy rapper, known for his lyrics about crime and drinking pricey champagne, was an unlikely match for the R&B church-going Southern girl. Nonetheless, they became a couple, albeit a very low-key couple. Jay-Z has been quoted saying, "We don't play with our relationship." While her personal life was growing, Beyoncé's professional life took a huge leap when the Dangerously in Love album won 5 Grammy Awards.
I think Beyoncé probably has the best machine, but I also think she has been tailored, basically, to be this perfect pop star. And certainly damage control and image control factor into that greatly. So I think she's just really, really well trained. She just really knows not to go off course.
I think it's all about Beyoncé's amazing voice and her ability to really create these great pop songs. I mean, it was not only a huge seller, but it was a big Grammy winner as well.
I remember when her first tour, when her solo album came out, we were in, I think it was in Miami. We were at the arena, and after they prayed, you know, I was walking with Beyonce. She was like, "I hadn't seen you," because I was doing the merchandise. So she was like, "Okay, I hadn't seen you the 2 weeks leading up to it." You know how they rehearsed for the show for 2 weeks. And when I came out the night before the show, and when the show actually started, I remember after we prayed, we walked, and she was telling me, you know, we were just talking, and I remember telling her, she was like, "I'm nervous." Right before they put on the little carry out. And I said, "What you nervous for?" I said, "You don't worry about it. You put in the work, you gonna be fine." And her thing to me was, I ain't nervous for me. I'm nervous for everybody else that they're gonna be in their spot and do their part. She said, "I got mine." And that let me know right there that she's gonna be fine. It's like the Michael Jordan. I'm gonna do mine, but when I pass you the ball, make sure when the lights hit you, you on cue.
I guess what surprised us was as big as it got. You know, I think we all expected her to be somebody, but my goodness.
That's when everybody realized just what an amazing star she was.
Putting on hold her next solo project, Knowles rejoined Destiny's Child, releasing the Destiny Fulfilled album. The group had a number of hit singles off this album, including Soldier, Cater to You, and Lose My Breath. Despite the success of this multi-platinum album and string of hit singles, the group announced they would disband after the North American leg of their worldwide tour.
I think they all felt that they had done everything that they could do as Destiny's Child. I mean, they were all very close. They've known each other since they were really little. And Beyoncé obviously became such a huge star in her own right that, you know, Destiny's Child they'd run its course.
It's amazing that she was able to dump Destiny's Child and really get no flack for that. I think part of the thing was that Beyoncé was Destiny's Child in a way. I mean, Kelly would sing a lot of the time, and certainly on their last album, Michelle sang a lot. But really, everybody knew that Beyoncé was the main attraction. And I think also that Crazy in Love was just such an insanely good single that any doubts were cast away. And people were just like, well, you can't mess with this. Like, I mean, it's great. So we'll take Beyoncé however we get her.
But there was no stopping Beyoncé, and in 2006, she released her second solo album, B-Day, and her hit single, Deja Vu, again featuring her then-boyfriend, Jay-Z. Continuing her acting career, she starred in the movie Dreamgirls, for which she received 2 Golden Globe nominations in 2007. Rounding out 2007, she embarked on a 90-venue worldwide concert tour called appropriately the Beyoncé Experience. In a few short years, Beyoncé had made her way to the top of the R&B pyramid, earning herself fame, fortune, and adulation, multiple awards and success both in the recording and movie worlds. To many, she had also earned the coveted title of diva.
I think it depends on what you define diva. You know, diva is a really talented, amazing artist. Yes, absolutely. But she's really down to earth. She's not the type of person that you hear about crazy demands or all white flowers and pink M&Ms or whatever. She's a down to earth girl.
Beyonce is an R&B diva, basically, and she comes from a line of crossover R&B divas. You know, Whitney Houston has roots in gospel and R&B, and she was able to become the biggest singer of her time. Mariah Carey as well. We see this happening a lot. I think also really key to Beyonce's particular appeal is that she doesn't have the laid-back R&B vibe, and that her music is so much about joy. Which is actually kind of not a cool thing. It's not cool to be as happy as Beyonce is, but she sells it so well that she is accepted for being this like sphere of joy that she is.
From when we were little, we just, you know, we went to the Bahamas. I guess Beyonce was about 9 or maybe about 9. You know, me, Solange, we went to the Bahamas with Tina. We just had a great time. And I still think that Beyonce is the same person. She wants to have fun. She wants to excel at whatever she does. She puts in the work.
And that's really what makes a pop star today, the multi-package thing. Like, from American Idol, we've been given this rhetoric of you have to be the full package, you have to dance, you have to sing, you have to write a lot of the time, and she does everything like that. She's incredible.
To be honest with you, it was the very, very first concert in Phoenix. When she hit the stage, she went out. Penny Hardaway, I'm gonna call his name. Penny Hardaway was like a big time star in the NBA. But when he saw Beyonce, he acted like he was a kid in kindergarten. He was like, Beyonce. It was like, he was a kid in timeout, just sitting in a corner.
I think what's key to Beyonce's appeal is that she's so entertaining. I think that there's nothing boring about her. Maybe people who aren't into R&B might associate it with being boring or somehow being inaccessible.
Certain meet and greets we'll be out on the road, and me being a bodyguard, I'm looking around and I'm surveying and I'm trying to make sure everybody's good. And I see this guy, gangster rapper looking guy, you know, he's looking all hard, mean and menacing. You know, so I'm watching him real careful, and he get up to Beyonce and he sounds like he's a 7-year-old girl. He becomes a fan, and you know, I'm like, wow. And I make eye contact with some of the other security guys that are with me, and they're like, wow.
Can I get your niece's phone number? They think because I'm the oldest, I'm the aunt. You know, like, no, you can't. Can we get some pictures? Would you tell Beyonce to call me this and that? And I try to tell them, you know, she can't call everybody who want them to call her.
I've not seen an autograph that she wouldn't sign. When I worked for Beyonce, her fans were her world. That's what Beyonce was all about, is making sure that everybody that left knew that, hey, I may not ever meet a star again, but Beyonce was there to provide. At some point, Beyonce thought everybody was her friend, and it took me and her dad to sit down with her. Her dad actually sit down with Beyonce just for her safety issues, because she would sign autographs at will. I'll give you a story about a stalker, actually. Yeah, we had a stalker in the Netherlands, and this guy actually still calls me to this day about Beyonce. Beyonce's happily married with a baby. We showed Beyonce a picture on a tour bus of the stalker, and she's like, man, he's sort of cute. And we started laughing. Beyonce, this guy's serious. This guy's been stalking Beyonce for like 7 years.
As the newly anointed Queen Bee to her fans in the Beehive, Beyonce may be a diva, but she has given greatly of herself and her talents, and for that, she is her own kind of diva.
Well, I think that in the case of women, particularly divas, people overlook the fact that they often write their music. Mariah Carey has spent the last 20 so years bemoaning the fact that people won't acknowledge her as a songwriter. I mean, throughout, always. So I think that people often kind of ignore that, or they don't look into it, or they assume that she's kind of this puppet. But I think her legacy primarily will be as a performer. And the thing is that she's performing her songs. She's selling her songs. Whether people acknowledge it or not, she's made them her own.
Perhaps more tellingly, Beyoncé has remained her true Southern girl self rather than fitting the traditional image of the diva. Like everything else, she has made this most iconic of pop star personas her own.
Beyonce is definitely likable. That's why she's appealing. She's so amazingly talented, and she does have this crazy glamorous life that you and I will never have, yet she's so approachable and down to earth and seems like a genuine nice person.
One of the problems that I actually had with her was she wanted to be everybody's friend. Even after a concert, she sees a small kid, she want to pick the kid up, and I'm like, hey, you're gonna draw a crowd, you're gonna draw attention. So Beyonce was always a superstar that really wanted to be just the girl next door.
And you know, she's just like, she's basically like if America's the teacher, she's our pet, basically. She is the kind of person that just wants to please and entertain us in that facet of her life. And so she knows not to screw it up. But these things do slip out of people's hands.
Well, Beyonce, the cousin, is just like, she's loving, caring, you know, she's concerned, you know, and having such a hectic schedule. You know, it's been, when she was younger, she was at all of the family functions. You go over to the house, they were loving and caring, but like I said, you were gonna watch a show. You know, and then when they started getting older, Beyonce hadn't changed.
Well, Beyonce is amazing because she goes on stage and she dances and she's singing about being bootylicious and how single ladies and girls dominate the world. And it's something that you just can't stop looking at. But then, you know, she goes home and she likes to talk about how she's this normal, you know, nice, sweet girl at home, and she's this really powerful woman on stage.
The fans were fantastic to Beyonce. She couldn't go anywhere. If we went to a shopping mall, it was overflow. Word got out Beyonce was there, and of course we were signing autographs too. We couldn't sign autographs anymore and try to find an escape route out of there. Sometimes the fans were so hyped, you know, and weren't aggressive towards Beyonce, but it was just the point. It's Beyonce, they wanted to grab and touch on her. And you got 10, 15, 20 people grabbing and touching on you at one time. It's gotta be a traumatic experience. She's always been real good to provide tickets. Not only tickets, but also finance. Just working on a tour, you have no idea the type of income that you make working on a tour. So just by meeting Beyonce and her family, I feel as though I've been blessed, you know.
Being on the road too is that when you read some of this negative stuff, and you've been there, we've been to the malls, or when they started to grow up or started to really explode, like after the first or second concert, it's like you're in the airport and you've been traveling with this person, and you see that they're tired and fatigued, and they trying to disguise themselves with a hoodie or a baseball cap. And then when people recognize it, even though they're that tired, for a person to stop and say, okay, and take the time. You know, and Tony can attest to that. You know, I don't want anybody to know who I am, so I'm gonna put on this baseball cap, no makeup, and be covered up, and we just gonna go in the mall. And then when people actually see who you are, you take the time and, you know, push them in the dressing room and take pictures with them and laugh and giggle. You know, that's Beyonce.
So my thing was, when she was off work, was to make sure that Beyonce was safe, and basically she had her me time for herself.
The most interesting thing about her celebrity, I think, is that she's been A+ across the board so far, probably because we don't know very much about her personal life. It'll be really interesting to see if Beyonce is able to maintain that image and always be the squeaky clean good girl, or if she'll have her breakdown moment, or if she'll be caught with marijuana at an airport, or you know, whatever possibly could happen. Generally, we see that in our divas. Generally, there's one slip at least, you know? Maybe Beyonce is the one that never slips. Maybe she's just perfection all the way through. We'll see.
This unique Beyonce persona comes from her deep roots in Houston, founded on the twin pillars of her strong, hardworking family and her deeply felt faith. Going back to those days when the Knowles family would gather after church to discuss that Sunday service, Beyonce has remained firm and clear in her Christian beliefs. But, as with so much to do with the young diva, she keeps her private beliefs to herself. Yet before every show, she and her performers still pray, and she has never forgotten her home church.
She was overseas somewhere, and she started feeling like, I need to go to church. So she jumped on an airplane and came to Houston to go to church, which says a lot for the church and a lot for her.
People go to a lot of different places to get their religious food, you know? And the fact that they were doing it then, but when they went to St. John's, and I think that Rudy Well, at St. John's Church, they had an innovative way of approaching a ministry, and I think that the homeless ministry was one of the biggest ministries in Houston, because I've always admired and respected that, because Beyonce and Matthew, they were all a part of that family, and they were always doing great things in terms of helping people in the ministries at their church.
From the time she was a little girl, her church and her Christianity have been key components to her success.
Beyonce is a typical Southern girl. She grew up in the church. I think that's always been very important in her life. And although she, will dress very outrageously on stage and sing about being, bootylicious and things like that, it is still a very important part of her life.
Little known to the outside world, Beyonce has never forgotten her roots, and using her personal wealth, has given generously to her church, the community of Houston, and many worthwhile causes.
I think that Beyonce has done a number of projects to help the church, but I think that the homeless ministry is one of the biggest ones, and what they have done to give back to the community. So she has never forgotten from where she came.
In 2008, I think Beyonce did what she did the church over there, and Kelly and Beyonce did the church and stuff like that.
The St. John's Center, she's giving money, Bread of Life. When the concert was here, she gave money to Bread of Life and the food bank. So she's always giving back.
And also too, she does a lot of different community things here in H-Town. So, she's constantly here.
Beyonce, as well as her dad, sponsored a youth football team that I coached for like 7 years. These kids wouldn't have an opportunity to play football without the finance and backings of Beyonce. And one of the kids actually is a big-time star at Oklahoma State.
This is home, so y'all always gonna try to take care of home.
That's just a part of who she is, giving back. Because I can remember as a youngster, Matt would take her to see homeless, and they would go feed, homeless people around Thanksgiving and Christmas. So Matt, he put that in her.
But you have to understand Uncle Matt to understand the success of Beyonce. Because if you don't understand Matt, irregardless of what you read about him, what you say about him, but if you have to understand him to understand her success. Because had it not been for him, Matthew, who was persistent, no to him meant that he hadn't convinced you to say yes.
Keeping an eye out for her family's well-being has been key, and Beyonce has also helped advise her younger sister, Solange, as she pursues her own, though uniquely different, career as a model, DJ, singer, and actress.
Where Beyonce finds influence from her family specifically, I think that is a major source of her joy. I think when you hear her sing a love song, it's clearly about Jay-Z, and all signs point to that relationship being extremely healthy and extremely balanced.
Beyonce cared about her family. Angie Beyonce was always there, her cousin. Her and her cousin really like each other. Her sister Solange, Matt and Tina. Tina was always real good. We were on tour one time. It was my birthday, and they made a cake and fixed a real nice meal for me and told me how they did. Appreciate it.
The Knowles family is really cool. I remember when I really kind of got into the confines of the family, and they really got to know me, and they really got comfortable with me. We used to go hang out at their house and used to go pick the girls up. It became a really good bond, and so it was business and friendship all together, as we kind of extended our roles outside of the 9-to-5 work that we did.
I believe sincerely and honestly that the people and the citizens of Houston is proud to have her as a native Texan and a native Houstonian. If she was to do a rodeo or do an event here, I'm certainly would be sold out. 100% certain that it would be sold out.
The diva with the heart of gold has spread joy to fans worldwide, and she has done this with the strong Christian values of charity and humility. She is a boon to community and spirituality through her works.
Music and fashion, they go hand in hand. And, when these beautiful models are posing for their shoots, they're listening to music. We're all inspired by music, and I think it's so great that they're acknowledging us musicians.
If one thing has defined Beyonce, it has been her sense of fashion and beauty. This young diva understands and appreciates street fashion and couture culture, uniting the two worlds in her own unique style. And with her mother, she has her own line of clothing through the House of Darion and her own line of fragrances.
Beyonce is definitely a fashion icon. You know, People magazine named her the world's most beautiful woman in 2012. But beyond that, she has her own fashion line and is always dressed to the nines, even when you see her just out shopping with her baby.
I love to mix different fabrics. I love maybe chiffon with different types of diamonds or embroidery or anything shiny. I love to mix something kind of rugged with something really feminine.
Well, I think that people gravitate toward Beyonce's image is because she's not afraid to take risks, especially those risks that are clothed by her mother, and to great success. Certainly her weave is iconic. She kind of popularized weaves in a way, I think. I think as soon as she came into the consciousness of having a weave, you heard people talk about weaves a lot. That's not a coincidence, I don't think. And I think that she takes a lot of risks, and sometimes she looks ridiculous, but sometimes she looks ridiculous on stage. That is the key to Beyonce's appeal, that she's not afraid to look ridiculous, or at least she doesn't seem to be.
I think House of Darion has been successful because of who Beyonce is. I think women relate to her, young girls relate to her, and they like what she exudes, this idea of fashion, but also accessibility. I think Beyonce's fragrances are successful just in the same way as her labels are successful, because people like her. People think that she's beautiful, she dresses well, and she's relatable.
I do think that she's gorgeous, and I think that Beyonce is probably somebody who it would be hard to make look bad, no matter what she was wearing. So she could really get away with dressing up, dressing down, looking crazy, looking elegant. She could really just do it all, and next time, she'll do something even more eye-catching.
All through these years, Beyonce and rap superstar Jay-Z have been maintaining a low-key relationship. Living the truth of that good Southern girl image meant that Beyonce kept her private life private, even when publications like the New York Times named her and her beau a power couple.
Beyonce and Jay-Z started dating when she was pretty young, and it was always seen as this musical collaboration. He's, quite a bit older than she is. But then, when she started breaking out of her shell and they got married.
I was in the beginning stages when they were with Jay-Z, so I don't know. I just know the family is great.
Beyonce and Jay-Z had always been very, very private about their relationship, even their wedding. We never saw photos of their wedding.
By mid-2008, Beyonce was riding high on a tidal wave of her own creation. Married to rap royalty, earning $80 million in 1 year, she was about to set out on a new direction, one which was potentially risky. Beyonce took both halves of her persona and in the fall of 2008 debuted her alter ego, Sasha Fierce, on the album I Am Sasha Fierce. To some, this was a risky move, following in the footsteps of other pop star alter egos that went on to crash against the rocks of critical ridicule and disdain of once loyal fans, dragging the artist down in the undertow of suddenly perceived irrelevance. But oh, how wrong the naysayers were this time.
She has a character that she calls Sasha Fierce, and with that, she kind of reconciles her ability to just let go and be a crazy person on stage, basically. And it makes for extremely entertaining performances. Beyonce is not the kind of person that would ever stand there and sing. Even when she's standing there and singing, she's still fluttering and twitching and making faces. She's hilarious, there's a comedy aspect that she's probably not even aware of, all the better for that.
Well, Beyonce talks about Sasha Fierce as being the aggressive, sexual, very out there person that she is on stage. And inside, she's, really down to earth and a sweet girl. And she has to put on this alter ego when she goes on stage to perform before thousands of people.
Well, I'm not exactly sure why Beyonce kind of gets the pass with admitting her sort of artifice in a way, right? She's like, I'm detaching myself from myself to do this. Probably just because it's so good, because she can absolutely back it up. If it weren't as entertaining as it is, and if she weren't the dancer and singer that she is, she probably wouldn't get that pass. But people look and say, oh, well, that's entertaining, that's great. Whatever you need to do, Beyonce, you got it.
I Am Sasha Fierce brought to the public consciousness hit songs like If I Were a Boy and Single Ladies. It was the video for Single Ladies that particularly caught the public's attention.
I mean, I think Single Ladies is the biggest Beyonce song of all time, the biggest solo Beyonce song of all time. And I think that has a lot to do with the video and kind of the breathlessness of that choreography and the way that she pulls it off. But the actual song, the actual content of the lyrics is very much about getting what you want from a man, specifically a ring in this particular case. But I think overall, it's kind of a matter of like not settling, basically.
Perhaps most significantly for Beyonce, the girl from Houston, she got the chance to serenade President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama at the inauguration ball in 2009. She sang Etta James' classic, At Last. It was fitting that the young diva sang this immortal song, having recently played the older diva, Miss James, in the movie Cadillac Records.
Honestly, after I tackled Etta James, it was so difficult and so dramatic, and something that could have been, it was really hard, and I wasn't sure if I could do it. After I feel like I conquered that, I felt like I could do anything. Gave me a lot of confidence.
That year, Beyonce swept the music world's highest honors at the Grammys, getting 10 nominations and ultimately walking away with 6 awards. Her alter ego, Sasha Fierce, had paid off with benefits after all. Beyoncé Knowles has been one of, if not the, hardest working women in entertainment. Fittingly, she took some time off in 2010 to recharge her batteries, as she put it. In 2011, she also took over management of her own career, parting ways with her longtime manager and father, Matthew Knowles. And keeping the juggernaut of her career going, she released her 4th studio album, fittingly called 4. And then in the summer of 2011, she and Jay-Z announced they were expecting their first child.
It became a whole different side of her that we got to see, and it was really nice to see her happy and in love.
Happiness, you have to be happy, and when you see a woman or a man that is confident and comfortable with themselves and happy, it makes you feel happy.
During the 2011 MTV Video Music Awards, Beyoncé announced that she was 5 months pregnant. First on the red carpet, and then, more famously, at the end of her performance of Love on Top, when she rubbed her growing baby bump. The announcement became an instant social media success, leading to record number of tweets, as well as making that year's VMAs the most watched in history.
But once she got pregnant and she decided to make this announcement in such an amazing way on the VMAs in 2011, showing her belly, and you saw Jay-Z in the audience being so happy, I think they're just so happy they can't not show it to the world.
For the expectant father, always super cool Jay-Z, the media blitz speculation of whether it was going to be a boy or girl did not faze him.
Yeah.
Either?
We'll see.
Okay.
One of the two.
One of the two.
If it was coming from them, they were able to control it. And I think what happens when you're a celebrity is that things just spiral out of control and you kind of can't do anything about what's being put out there. So people just cling to whatever control they can.
Carter was born on January 7th, 2012. The newborn's cries were included in Proud Dad Jay-Z's song dedicated to her birth, Glory. This made Blue Ivy the youngest person ever credited on a song.
Now that we've actually seen her baby, she's been on a track of Jay-Z's song. It's just wonderful to see. I think they're just so happy they want the world to see that.
I can just see now that her and Jay are together, they're gonna put, Blue in a position you know, Blue Ivy in the position to be successful. Whatever it's gonna take, they're gonna make it happen.
But she also has a lot of kind of women empowerment songs, like If I Were a Boy and Who Run the World, Girls. I would hope that as a mother, she would continue that. I hope that she teaches Ivy Blue that girls do indeed run the world. Even though those songs are a little bit simplistic in their politics, whatever, the general sentiment of uplifting women is something I would hope that she would continue even more strongly now that she has a daughter, and it really, really matters.
I think, you know, as a performer, as an entertainer, Beyonce is still at the top of her game, and being a mom doesn't change that one bit. But of course, you know, she's talked about how being a mom has changed her entirely in many other ways, just her priorities in life. But, you know, she is still an entertainer, absolutely.
Beyoncé Knowles has conquered the world with her songs, and she has done this in her own unique way. So what could possibly be next for this talented performer?
What's up with Beyonce? Beyonce getting paid, man, doing her thing. That's what she's doing.
I think Beyonce is going to go down in history as a really huge icon of her generation, you know.
I think for a very, very long time, we will have Beyonce music in our lives, in the forefront of our lives. I think she'll be really, really popular. I think she'll just find a way to keep kind of changing enough to keep interesting. I think also probably she'll get more into movies. She's already shown that she's interested in that, and that's usually the next step people take to dominate.
As a performer, as a singer, and she's also an actress and a designer, all of those things. And I think she's been a really good role model for girls as well. I think she's really important in this time.
I'm very proud of her. Although I was not surprised.
To see where she's come from that young lady that walked through the doors of music world in her teens to where she is now, family, one of the top selling artists of the world. I mean, it's amazing.
She was always a star. I was not surprised.
But the sky's the limit, clearly. This woman can do anything. She's as close to a goddess as we have on this earth.
If one thing is certain, it is that this diva actress mother will surprise us, delight us, inspire us, and move us. From that little girl singing on the deck in her family backyard to the fully formed singer entertaining millions, we know she is the queen bee, and we can't wait to see where she takes us next.